We're investigating the American Revolution and trying to find out how the British Empire lost America to a bunch of rebels. The great American hero in the conflict was undoubtedly George Washington. He's been called Father of the Nation. In America, he's the closest thing you can get to royalty, with his own stamps, currency, a national holiday even. Often declared the greatest president of all time. Unless you ask Donald, of course. But to the British, Washington was a traitor. He fought alongside them in the 7-Year War against the French, in command of the Virginia militia. He understood how the British Army worked, its strengths and weaknesses. But a year into the Revolution, things are not going well for him and his Continental Army against his former paymasters. Washington's force was nearly wiped out at the Battle of Long Island in August 1776. Morale was very low. And there's a thought that the Americans should give up. The British send a delegation to negotiate a peace. It's at this low point that he's credited with turning the whole course of the war with one single, unbelievable heroic action, codenamed Victory or Death. On Christmas night, 1776, he and the remains of his army crossed the Delaware River into Pennsylvania in a surprise attack on the Hessian troops fighting for the British. At the Battle of Trenton, he captures 850 men with their supplies for the loss of only 3 Americans. This surprise attack and victory turns the tide back in Washington's favour. A famous painting depicts him as an almost biblical character, crossing the river to save America. But what's the truth behind the Washington myth?
Fancy attacking over Christmas. That's low. That's bang out of line. Totally out of order. What are you doing, you muppets? I mean, the Germans didn't even do that during World War I. Do you mind? I'm trying to watch Morecambe and Wise. It's devious. It's desperate. Imagine if we'd attacked the Americans on Thanksgiving. We'd never hear the last of it.
Oh, not so happy holiday.
We want to learn more about Washington by revisiting one of his most iconic moments of the war. They originally used Durham boats, which is a type of punt. So, we've come to Oxford.
Massa, you want to cross where?
The Delaware. We need to get across the Delaware.
It's like ice in the water, Massa. What are we going to do that for?
We're going to cross the Delaware on a boat and take the British by surprise.
Why we got to cross through all that ice and water?
Because I am George Washington, and I say 90% of failure is people who give excuses. That's one of his famous quotes. So we're going to get in a punt and punt up the river and recreate the Delaware.
If that's what you want to do, Massa, I'll help you cross the Delaware. I just hope that this will mean something good for the future.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that later.
All right.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Holy Christ.
I might have miscalculated.
Right, okay.
This has got disaster written all over it.
Right, let's cross us that Delaware.
All right.
The night crossing for Washington and his 5,000-strong force was not a great distance, only a few hundred yards or so, but it was fraught with danger due to ice, river currents, and terrible weather. And they very nearly didn't make it.
You know, Massa, if you pull this off, you could go far. You might be considered uncle of the country.
Well, that's the plan in the end. To form a brave new country of liberty, freedom, justice.
For all men.
Yes, for many men, yes. For some men, certainly.
Yep.
Now, what Reg is none too subtly alluding to is that despite the lofty ideals of Washington and his fellow leaders, there were some things they were most certainly not willing to give up for the sake of the revolution. Namely, slavery.
See, what I love about you, Massa, is everybody know that you cannot tell a lie. It is impossible.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, about that. Depends what you mean by a lie.
We want to be as accurate as we can be. And since that iconic picture has some errors, we have the correct flag and our own ice.
It's tragic ducklings. Yet more people falling for American mythology. Of course, if he'd fallen in, we wouldn't even be talking about him. If I fall in now, that's all I'm going to hear about for the rest of my life.
Master, you picked the worst time of year to cross this mother.
Precisely. The British would not expect such a daring strike in such conditions.
Master, I applaud you and your unorthodox plan.
I'm a tactical genius. Oh, fuck, you know. I mean, George Washington, right? He's the first president. He's an iconic American figure, isn't he? But
Well, there's some dispute as to whether or not he was the first president. There were about 4 or 5 presidents under another name.
right.
And they are completely overlooked and discarded. But when the United States rebranded itself, it listed him as the first president of the United
Right.
States. He is not actually the first president.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So, yes, indeed, Washington was actually the 9th president, or perhaps the 15th. It's not very clear, but the first one under the new Constitution.
He married well.
Yep.
And he continued to accrue land, and he got a lot of slaves.
He kept slaves. There were several hundred of them on his property. He was a very rich man, and in the years up to the war, landowners were put under pressure with a series of revolts by the poor. The revolution was seen by some as a way of diverting that dissent towards the British.
There are those who say that he was an opportunist because he was very much a supporter of the British.
He was voted by Congress as Commander General of the Continental Army. He declined a salary. But don't worry, he made up for it with expenses, which totaled around $5 million in today's money. So he didn't starve.
When he saw an opportunity to do his own thing, he said, "De hell with the British."
Yeah.
But he had no experience in commanding large troop numbers, something that he admitted to Congress. Much to the annoyance of his generals, he was very slow to make decisions. They claimed his dithering cost hundreds of lives. Eventually, Britain's old enemy France joined forces with America. This brought in a large injection of arms, money, and men. Many believed that it was the French commanders that won the war, not Washington.
He also had the temerity to make his own set of extra teeth made out of wood. Not a lot of men do that. Regular man just say, "Well, I guess I'll just eat soup and jello all the time." But not him. I still like eating steak. Give me some wooden teeth.
Washington was super motivated, and that's why he was so good at motivating other people, because he was completely into this thing of beating the British.
He wanted to out-British the British. He loved the British. He just loved his own ambition more.